What's up, y'all? As you know, Chapter 252 leaks have been out for a while now. I did a video on them, but I've now gotten some much better translations, so we're going to go through the chapter again with those. So, obviously, spoiler warning. So, the chapter starts with a mini flashback before Akotsu's domain starts to shatter, and we're privy to a conversation between Kusakabe and Ino, and they're basically just talking about the plan, saying that Akotsu has successfully moved the coordinates of his domain, and we see that they're on like a bridge of some sort with Akotsu's domain just sitting in the middle. The plan is they have people all over in position to cover all the blind spots and just to be ready for the signal. Ino's talking about how he really wishes more people could have been inside the domain to help with the fight against Sukuna, but Kusakabe says, you know what, it's too late for that. If anybody were to break in now, it would make Sukuna suspicious, and we need Maki to be able to get the jump on him. And there's a couple interesting details from this conversation. The first is that we learn Choso was supposed to be inside the domain with Yuji and Yuta, but since he got hole punched by Sukuna, he was clearly recovering still. Also, when Kusakabe is talking about other people potentially being in there, he's like, how many people could really be able to keep up with the special grade anyway? And Ino responds to that by saying, you could probably manage it, couldn't you? So some interesting scaling for our boy Kusakabe there. We then cut to Maki, who is literally posted up exactly like this. She is in the zone just waiting for her moment. And Kusakabe lets us know that Akotsu is supposed to give a signal when Sukuna is at his most relaxed, his most susceptible. And that's when we catch back up with the present. Akotsu's domain shatters and Maki makes her move, stabbing Sukuna straight through his heart. However, what's interesting to learn from the translations is that Yuta's domain didn't falter because he took so much damage. No, Akotsu took down his own domain on purpose in order to distract Sukuna and also to serve as the signal for Maki and everyone else. We also learned that Maki's cursed tools were probably already inside of Akotsu's domain so that Sukuna would not be able to sense anything coming from Maki and she would be able to fully sneak into the domain. Also, we learned that the Soul Split Katana does damage Sukuna's soul, and the recovery from that type of damage is much harder to pull off. It is possible to heal. We find out that because Sukuna knows the shape of the soul, because of his time sharing a body with Itadori, he will be capable of healing the soul damage from this blade. However, due to the fact that he is drained after his fight with Gojo still, he isn't capable of fully healing that wound at the moment. So even though Sukuna has a wound through his heart that he cannot heal, he is able to keep going, just like we saw him do early on in the story when he ripped Yuji's heart out of his body. And we find out he's able to do this because he is keeping the blood pumping through his body using only cursed energy. We then cut back to Yuji, who again just got slashed up at the end of last chapter. He's getting up and he wants to rejoin the fight to get back to Megami. However, as soon as he gets up, he just collapses and starts spitting up blood. He's looking so rough from all the damage he's taken. And even though he's learned reverse curse technique, he hasn't been able to completely heal his wounds every time because of, just the pace of this battle. So he's trying to figure out, where do I need reverse curse technique? Where am I injured? How do I get back in the fight? However, that's when Big Bro Choso shows back up, seemingly healed from his previous injuries, and he places a hand on Yuji's back. He tells him to calm down, to focus, and to picture it, to visualize all of the blood flowing throughout his body, forming his silhouette, and to use that focus to help him heal. We then get several pages of Maki and Sukuna just throwing hands and at his peak. At one point she goes for a strike with the sword, but he just catches it to block it. And in return, Maki hurls him into a building. Sukuna then slashes up a building and starts throwing the debris at her, and this is kind of a distraction tactic because while that's happening, he chants and does an empowered dismantle that he throws at her, but Maki is able to dodge it. Now this slash is not the dimensional slash. Sukuna only chanted twin meteors, which is one of the 3 chants necessary for that attack. However, Maki still dodged it, and this impressed Sukuna. He says that she can see his slashes better than the other sorcerers could, and likens her to Maharaga during Shibuya. It's at this point that Maki realizes what Sukuna is doing with cursed energy in order to keep his blood flowing. And she knows this because of what Megami told her about this incident from earlier in the story. So she starts shit-talking a little bit, saying is your heart going to be okay? You going to be able to keep it going? And Sukuna says, yeah, for now, it's not a problem. It's at this point that we switch back to Hakari versus uraume. And Hakari is basically just talking his shit. He says that when he first saw Sukuna's true form, he was terrified. But honestly, he can continuously feel Sukuna's cursed energy dropping, so he's feeling pretty good about their squad. He thinks they're going to take them down. Uraume responds that you're pretty fired up, aren't you? You're as ridiculous as your curse technique. And Hakari says, yeah, but Akotsu's more fired up than me, which, is some interesting comments given how Akotsu and Hakari scale each other, so I don't think Hakari's at his peak yet. Then in regards to Sukuna's cursed energy level, Uraume says if Sukuna isn't interested in the person he's fighting, he's not going to go all out. His current cursed energy is nothing compared to its true intensity. We then switch to this ominous silhouetted shot of Sukuna whose eyes are glowing in the dark, and Uraume says that they should all be ashamed for not providing Sukuna with a better fight ever since Gojo left the battlefield, and that even if we ignore all of the damage that Gojo did to Sukuna, he's still not operating at his full power. And that's where chapter 252 ends. Next week, we are not on break. There is going to be a chapter, and it's actually the 6th anniversary of JJK. So in celebration of that, it's going to be on the cover of Weekly Shonen Jump, and Gege will be doing a color page for the next chapter, which is obviously hype, but also has me low-key terrified, right? Because Sukuna's apparently about to go full demon mode, and Gege's going to color a page. Like, that's not a good sign, right? Something devious is going to happen, I think. But anyways, let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments. I will be putting out a chapter review sometime later this week with my full thoughts and reactions to specific things that happened here. But let me know if there's anything, explicitly you'd like me to touch on in that. And I will see you guys in the next one.